Okay, we're ready to talk about the part in Journeys about teaching with Journeys. And to do that and go through that, I'm going to go live with you on Think Central. And I would like you to go ahead and sign in if you'd like, but if you have your print version, your teacher edition that you're working out of, I would advise you to use that for these purposes because that's more than likely what you're going to be using during your teaching. So if you have your print edition with you, go ahead and use that. And I'm going to use this up here, obviously, so that all of you can see what I'm talking about and it's projected to you. But I think it would be easier for you to flip back and forth and to refer to everything if you're looking at your print concepts, especially because that would be what you're working out of mostly. So what I'm going to go to then, for just the purposes of talking to you today, I'm going to be on first grade. Now, there are some differences in teaching and in the layout of the structure for grade levels, kindergarten especially, and then K through 3 or 1 through K through 2 and 3 through 6 or 4 through 6 are sometimes structured differently. So I will be sure to mention those areas where things are structured differently than the first grade that I'm referring to. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my teacher ebook. And you can see here that there are 6 units. And each unit has 5 lessons. So there's 30 lessons for the year. For grades 3 through 6, the last units, at the end of all the units, there will be some teaching with magazines. So they'll bring in some other literature and some other reading that they can have, that they can use and practice what they've learned for the year on that different type of reading. Now for K through 2, there's too many foundational skills that are built into this that they don't have time to add those magazines to the end. But they do have the opportunity at the end of units 2, 4, and 6, there are some trade books in there. So we'll vary away from working out of reading in their textbooks to actual trade books that they'll be reading. Excuse me. And those are just to kind of take a break from using all the skills, maybe just to read for enjoyment, or they can practice the skills that they've learned on these particular trade books, but just to break from the lessons. And there's some, they say they're at the end of unit 2, 4, and 6, but it still allows for some flexibility where you want to use those. Maybe you have a short week that you don't want to expand a whole lesson out of, say maybe Thanksgiving week or sometime around Christmas. Those are some good times to bring in those trade books. So we're going to look at Unit 1 for first grade, and we're going to just walk through what it's like to go through a lesson from the teacher's perspective. So at the beginning of all the lessons, there'll be a launch the unit, and this is for Unit 1, so you're launching the entire unit of 5 lessons. So let's talk a little bit about the navigation of the teacher edition, and this is also will hold true for the student edition. You'll have the same kind of resources when you're looking at the teacher edition than when you look at the student edition. I'm sorry, the same navigation skills. So up here on the left, you can look at the contents. So you can navigate through here by doing this bar that'll go up and down. It'll allow you to go to different lessons and jump around. Also, if you know the page number that you want to go to, you can just go up here to the top where this book is and enter that page number. So if you are referencing your teacher guide for any reason, or if you are following along in the student book and you want your students to follow along with you and you know exactly what page you want to go to, you can enter that here at the top. You can also bookmark pages, and by doing that, if I were to bookmark this right here, that means under bookmarks, that page is marked, so I can navigate easily back and forth in between pages that I've bookmarked. So I'm going to unbookmark that because I don't find that a particularly important page. Also, there are some different ways that you can view the book. You can put it like this, and you can scroll up and down, which does make it a bit bigger and easier to see. However, you can do that same type of thing, see how I'm scrolling down, by changing it over to one page, and then you can go back in and zoom in to make it bigger. and then you would just scroll up and down to get the whole page, and then go like this to switch pages. So right now we're looking at the Launch the Unit around the neighborhood. It gives you some ideas on how to motivate and engage, access prior knowledge using a graphic organizer about a neighborhood. So for first grade and kindergarten, they will begin each of their units with a beginning of the school year lesson. So for first grade, it'll be a week-long lesson that just introduces the school year before you get into the actual content. And then for kindergarten, there's a 2-week introductory period before you get into the content. So what I would recommend is look at what you already do at the beginning of the year for your kiddos. You know, they're young and they're just starting out the school year. There's a lot of routines and classroom management that has to be taught and figured out. So this is a time where you can either use the curriculum or what you normally do with your kiddos, or you can use it straight from what Journeys has to offer. So what I recommend is just looking and comparing what you do and what Journeys has to offer, and then deciding what you want to use, what resources you may want to use, or you may not want to use this part, but it's there for you if you need it. So after we get through that, we're actually ready to start the lesson, and we're going to start at the unit planning and pacing guide. So what this does is the bird's eye view of your entire unit. So it's telling you lesson 1, here's your anchor text up here at the top, what's your essential question, lesson 2, anchor text, lesson 3, anchor text, and then it just gives you an overview of the oral language vocabulary, text-based comprehension, research and media literacy and speaking and listening, foundational skills, and then right on down to spelling, grammar, writing, all of that you're going to learn in each lesson. So I'm going to switch this page view over here so we can look at it, because you can also look at it like a real book, so a 2-page spread. That does make it a little harder to see. So you have to zoom in if you actually want to look at the print on the page. Oh, this isn't zooming in. So in order to zoom in, you have to have it in single page view. So we'll just look at it like a book so you can look at the layout, but we don't have to look really close. So the next page here gives you some more information on planning for English language development. So if you have a lot of those English language learners in your class, you're really going to want to pay special attention to this page. Or if you have a particular English language teacher in your building, this would be a good resource for them as well. Okay, so this is just going through the beginning of the year. Remember that 1 week of instruction before you actually start. We're going to page view here till we get to the start of the unit. So here's your back to school lesson. Excuse me for just a minute. I have some kiddos banging down my door. Who is there? Do you seriously not hear me doing a recording in my room? I just had to stop the recording and now I have to start all over because you're here banging on my door. Can you not hear me though? What do you want, Connor? Why are you in here? What? They don't know. I don't know that though. People like crash in here. Okay, we're going to pick up where we left off here. And we're scrolling through that beginning of the year back to school with first grade, reviewing some things that they learned in kindergarten. And I know this is just K1, so 2 through 6 you won't have this. You'll jump right into the content. Okay. Now we are getting ready to start our lesson. Okay, we are ready to start with teaching with Journeys. So how to use our Teacher's Edition and the resources that the Teacher Edition provides for those whole group lessons. So right now we're just going to focus on the whole group lesson, and we'll look at the resources and have some exploration time of those resources after, and then we'll go back and we'll visit the small group resources. So right now, I'm going to ask you to use your print Teacher Editions because it's more than likely what you're going to be using in the classroom. Now, if you feel more comfortable navigating using your Think Central and your digital resources, by all means, go ahead and follow along with me. I will be using the Think Central digital resources so that you can all see them. And my screen will reflect what you can see in your print options or your print in front of you. So I'm going to log into my Think Central account, and you can do the same, or like I said, follow along with your print. Okay, so here is my Think Central dashboard, and for the purposes of just talking to you today, I'm going to follow along in the first grade teacher ebook. And it doesn't really matter. All of the concepts and things that we're going to talk about are going to be similar. And if they are different for your grade level, I'll be sure to point that out. So we're going to look at, there are 6 units for Journeys. There are 5 lessons each. So approximately 30 lessons for teaching. Now, grades 3 through 6 will end with a magazine to bring in a different kind of text. Grades K through 2, there's just simply too many foundational skills for you to learn to have time to bring that in the end. But there is outside reading and a break from the text for all grade levels for units 2, 4, and 6. At the end of each of those, there are trade books that you can use with your kids, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not a hard, rigid place that you have to use those trade books. Remember, Journeys is a resource. You use it and pull in what you need where you need it. But so you can do these trade book units whenever you see fit, whenever there's a good break for you. So maybe on those short weeks that you have around Thanksgiving or Christmas or spring break, and that time you can pull out a trade book and use it then. They just put some natural breaks in the series after Unit 2, 4, and 6. So we're going to look at Unit 1, and this is the E-Teacher Edition, and I have some pages bookmarked over here that I'm going to highlight and go over with you. Here is the unit planning and pacing guide. I'm also going to talk about some of these digital resources while you're using the digital teacher guide. There is a way to navigate through your table of contents over here. You can click on the side of this and go up and down, and this is going to let you look at all of the pre-resources for the unit. Once you get into the unit, which we will soon, you'll see here you can drill down to the specific lessons. If you can also see here, there's a back to school at the very beginning before you even start lesson 1. And that is because for K and 1, you're really setting up those routines for students to follow throughout the year. You're dealing with classroom management, all of your back to school issues that you are addressing. So at the beginning of kindergarten, there's a 2-week back to school unit where you're not really into the lessons that you're going to be doing for the school year and not into that structure yet. It's just a back to school kind of exploration. Same thing for first grade, only for first grade it's for a week. And again, because Journeys is a resource, you may already have something that you do those beginning couple of weeks of school with your students in K and 1 to get them ready for the school year. So you don't necessarily have to use the back to school plans in the beginning of Journeys. However, I would recommend taking a look at what they have to offer versus what you normally do, and there may be some resources there that will prevent you from having to do extra planning that you can go ahead and use. So you'll see that back to school unit at the beginning of kindergarten and first grade. Second grade and up does not have that, and then you'll jump right into your first lesson, which you can navigate through your table of contents. We'll take a look at this later, but if there are any lesson level resources available to link out digitally to, they will be right here, and there aren't any from this place in the book, but you'll see what I mean further on. I did mention the bookmarks because I have a few places bookmarked, so I don't lose my place today. But if you click up here in the corner, it will turn your bookmark blue, and that also means that you have saved it here. So if there are some important pages that you want to go back to, or you want to plan your lesson out and you want to know these pages that you're going to visit often, you can bookmark them and find them in the bookmarks section. You also have control over your page view. A lot of people like to look at their book like a book, so the 2-page spread out. It just kind of helps them visualize. The only downside to this is that zooming in is not available with the 2-book. If you see right here, like I try to zoom, this little guy right here does not move. So when you're in the 2-page view, you'll be able to see that spread like this, but it will be really small print. So if you're wanting to zoom in, you'll have to choose a different view. You can do 1-page view like this, which gives you the biggest option, and you scroll up and down over here. You can see it's thinking about it. Let me go back to my unit where we were. But this really allows us to see up close and read the words on the page. And so I've scrolled around here, and so if I feel like I've gotten lost, I can go back to my bookmarks, and I was at XXXII. This takes me back to where I wanted to be since I got a little lost there. Another 1-page view you can choose is in the middle, and then you can also choose to zoom in or out, and this will allow you to scroll up and down on this 1 page only and then navigate different pages by the arrows. So that's the view that I like when reading up close, because I don't get lost in all the pages going up and down on the scroll bar over here, but it does allow me to read up close. So this is a bird's eye view of the entire unit. So 1 lesson at a time, meaning lessons usually take a week, 5 days. So 1 week at a time, it's giving you a bird's eye view of what will be going on, the types of things that you'll be doing with your students during that lesson. It has the anchor text and essential questions up here at the top for each of those. And this is outlining each lesson within the unit. And we are focusing on Unit 1 today. I'm going to go back to my bookmarks and go ahead and skip over to T1, which is where my unit's going to start. Now, our focus wall gives us an idea of our overall, zoom out so you can see the whole page, of our target skills for the week. So it's going to outline the anchor text, the paired selection, our essential question, what is important about being a friend, and then also all of our other pieces of instruction, our foundational skills, words to know, comprehension skills, phonics, fluency, writing, spelling, grammar, and vocabulary strategies. So this lets us know everything from a broad point of what are we going to learn in this lesson, what are our students going to learn in this lesson. Okay, and then this next page gives us an idea of our whole group resources. What resources can we use? Again, you don't have to use everything. There's so many resources that you can use with Journeys, and you'll find that and maybe feel a little bit overwhelmed by how many there are. But really, Journeys does a great job of laying out, what there is to choose from, and what's really important that you need to use, like obviously the anchor text. Everything is based off the anchor text. That's not really something that you have an option to use or not to use. But you do have options as far as you can use. See all these digital resources here? These grammar snap videos are good for the grammar lessons. It just brings in an extra, maybe the kids just are sick of hearing your voice and you just bring in another voice, another way to learn something and introduce nouns. So when you get a chance, check out those grammar videos. They are linked digitally straight from your book. So if I were to click on this, I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but just to give you an idea, and click on the video, it's going to start a video lesson about nouns. And this is pretty engaging for students. It's actually very loud. I just wanted to go ahead and give you an idea at the very beginning of it and how it introduces the concept.
Oh, look! Isn't the monkey funny? He's sitting in the tree.
Turn this down. Oh.
Noun is a word that names a person, place, or thing. The monkey sits in a tree. This sentence has 2 nouns. Monkey is a noun because it is a thing. Tree is also a noun because it is a thing.
It's going to go on with more examples of nouns. And I really like that resource just to bring in a little bit of motivation engage piece there because you're bringing in a digital video. There's also some interactive whiteboard lessons. We'll take a look at that resource later. Multimedia grammar glossary. So there are your digital resources, along with additional resources down here, which will be things that you'll use to incorporate into the lesson and help teach your lesson. Okay, so and then next you're going to see little English language learner development resources, your small group independent resources. They give you ideas for literacy centers. So if you don't want to create your own and you want to use things within the Journeys materials, it gives you ideas of things to do right here in your teacher's edition. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is preparing for complex text. Now this gives you an idea of for your anchor text and your paired text that you're reading together with the kiddos, how complex it is. So this is going to let you know which students are on level for these anchor text and how hard is it going to be for them. And this will also give you an idea of why it's not when you're reading these anchor text and going over them, you know, why you don't necessarily want your students reading them out loud, especially if they're not at their level. That's really going to prevent them from learning the comprehension skills that you're trying to teach through these readings. So this gives you this right here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit to help you see a little closer. On the text complexity rubric for each of these, it gives you a Lexile score, a guided reading level, so the anchor is a C and the paired is a G. And then this gives you a scale of how difficult it is. So these green dots are all the way over here, so not very difficult on what is about. Then you get over here to Friends Forever, and you're seeing your green dot slides a little bit more difficult in genre, life experiences, conventionality, and registers. The texts have some unfamiliar words and include descriptive and figurative language. So those things are going to be a little bit harder for them, and it gives you an idea to know that ahead of time for your struggling readers. Okay, and then that text from that complexity rubric, it will tell you some key things that kids should understand from the anchor text and how to guide them through some of the learning that needs to take place while you're reading that. Now, you don't have to use each of these. You don't have to zoom in on these. You know your students. You're the expert. What do they need help understanding? And you'll pick those key ideas and those focused things to stop and talk to your students about. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here so I can see the whole page. And now, and I'm going to put this on two-page view, we are ready to, just like the bird's eye view unit, this is a bird's eye view of your lesson. So we've drilled down a little bit, and this is your first lesson in your unit, 1 of 5, and it's a 1-week, 5-day lesson, and it's giving you your outline for every day. So now that I've showed you what it looks like from a bird's eye, I'm going to pick one page, and I'm going to put it back in the 1-page view and zoom in so we can look at it a little bit closer. So as you see, it's going to tell you all the materials you need for that day, so you can have them out and ready to go. And then it will tell you what resource you need for each piece of your lesson, what resources you will need, so you'll be ready to go. You'll be able to have that all gathered from the beginning. Okay, we're going to zoom back out and move on. So, opening routines. So, after for all of your lessons for, I'm going to see, K through 2, I do believe, opening routines. No, K through 3. K through 3 will start with opening routines, and 4 through 6 will start with a read aloud. So a little flip-flop there. So for K through 3, you will start with your opening routine. And let me switch this back to 2-page view. And your open routines are just a way to introduce the phonemic awareness skills, your high-frequency words, and vocabulary. And this is meant to be a quick 10-minute opening piece. And you could put this anywhere. It doesn't even have to be in your language arts instruction block. You can do it, maybe you have a 10-minute lull before you go to your specials class, or before recess, in between lunch and recess, you have like a 10-minute break. You can even do this then. So the opening routine doesn't necessarily have to be part of that block. Okay, and so and then you're going to move on to your teacher read aloud, which I said for grade 3 through 6 or 4 through 6. I'm sorry. You'll have a read aloud instead of your opening routines, and the reason being is because of the focus on phonics and phonemic awareness is heavier in the K through 3, so you need a minute to introduce all that, and you don't have that in the 4 through 6. So here is, I'm going to take a minute and have you guys do a pair share activity or a talk. Pair share, turn in talk, where you think about for a minute the value of a teacher read aloud, even for those older kiddos who you might be thinking that's a lower level skill. My students know how to read. Why am I doing this read aloud, especially with all of this modeling and teaching of skills while I'm reading it? So take a minute to think about that and turn to the person next to you and talk about why you think a teacher read aloud is important at every grade level. And then we'll come back together and share that. Okay, thank you for taking time to do that. Does anyone want to share what you thought about? Great. Listening comprehension, listening skills, listening and speaking skills are all interconnected to reading and writing, and if you look at our standards, they're integrated into our standards and are just as important. Great. Any other ideas? Yes, modeling fluency. Read alouds are important for modeling fluency, what a fluent reader should sound like. Great. Anything else? Yes, modeling strategies, think alouds, comprehension strategies. So while these students are hearing you read aloud, you can stop and do think alouds and allow them to have exposure to comprehension strategies without actually reading themselves, but you're able to do a think aloud with that. Great, thank you for sharing that with me. So you're going to do that teacher read aloud, and there's some ideas that they're sharing with you here about the, so you're listening for that oral vocabulary. So perhaps when you're reading, let's look here, do my one-page view so that I can zoom in. It's talking about modeling fluency, listening comprehension, classroom collaboration. So this is a really good piece here for the to introduce collaboration among the class at the end of your read aloud. You can have them get together and do a retell, because a retell is so important, especially when you're trying to pick out those main ideas, which are definitely going to be a comprehension skill for them. So one way you could model using their vocabulary, you're reading aloud. One day, a long time ago, a lion ate an excellent meal. Excellent. If you had an excellent meal, what do you think that means? Is that good or bad? And you can stop and talk about the word excellent and what does that mean. You can also use this read aloud to mispronounce words, misread words, and show them correction strategies, how you go back and look at how good readers self-correct. So you might say, one day, a long time ago, a lion ate an excellent maw. Wait, maw. Does that make sense? I don't think I read that right. Let me go back and try again. One day, a long time ago, a lion ate an excellent meal. Meal. That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? So there you've modeled self-correcting and making sense of a sentence and a word. So again, another great thing we talked about that read alouds allow us to do as teachers. Okay, so after the read aloud, you're going to have your daily phonemic awareness and phonics lessons with your lower kiddos. Your 4 and up, it's going to be less of phonemic awareness and phonics lessons, and it's going to be decoding. So you're going to switch to decoding instead of daily phonics and phonemic awareness. Now, grade 3, you're not going to have daily phonemic awareness and phonics lessons, but you will have them in there, just not as frequently. Okay, so this is all on day 1. And then we're going to move through onto our phonics. Our decodable readers we'll bring in there for the phonics. Introduce our words to know. Again, this is going to be another short piece. You want to keep it 10 minutes or under. We don't want to spend a lot of time focusing on introducing the words, because kiddos are going to go back and they're going to have access to these words on a daily basis. So you don't want to spend too much time belaboring it. We know that our whole group time is precious, that our students are going to lose attention fast. So we want to use that time wisely. And if we sit here for a long amount of time for a lot of instruction, we're going to lose our kiddos and whole group instruction. So we want to keep this short introduction, and then we can use these words throughout the week, integrated into small group lessons, into stations, into group activities that they do, so they will really learn these words. Okay, and now we're ready for our read and comprehend strategies. And this is where we're introducing the target comprehension strategies for the week. So our anchor text is going to be in our books for everyone but kindergarten. Kindergarten, you have big books, and those are your anchor texts. You have tons of big books, so one for every lesson, so 30 big books. And that big book is going to contain your anchor text and your paired text. And for everyone else, the anchor text and paired text are going to be in the students' textbooks. You can also show them digitally on your screen. So in your students, if you have access to technology, they can use their digital books. I do want to stop right here and point out the resources that are integrated in the digital teacher book. So anywhere in a lesson, you can click resources over here, and it is going to let you link out to any resources you might need or that are referenced in your teacher edition. So right here with the lesson level resources, if you click on that, you're going to have access digitally to your Close Reader Teacher's Guide, all of your decodable readers. Your Grammar Snap video for that lesson is going to be right there to link out to you. You need to make sure to find that bar. Sometimes this can be tricky to navigate here, and it is as actually can be very tricky with your mouse. You also have, it'll link out to your narrative writing pieces, any of the projectables that you'll need for your lesson. So if I click right here, throughout my teacher edition, it's going to reference different projectables, and this will be the first one it'll reference that we use for writing model to add labels to a picture and to talk about the details. So we can link out to this. So this is a good thing for planning. So if you're at home and you're planning your lesson for the week, you can use the Think Central dashboard, and you can link out to look at the resources that you're going to use for your planning, so you don't have to bring all of your books home with you, because your projectables are going to be in a separate book than your teacher edition. But if you just want to look at it for planning purposes, you can link out to that directly from your digital teacher edition. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and stop right here because I think this is a long enough snapshot for you, I hope.